name is Faith Motter. Hello. I'm the Director of Development. We also have Gina, Maione, Earles. Gina, raise your hand. She is our Executive Director. Gina joined Blue Sky Bridge in 2012, and she led the organization through a $1.6 million capital campaign 5 years ago. And she has helped to build Blue Sky Bridge into one of the premier child advocacy centers in the country. We also have Robin Friesen-Holwell. Robin, raise your hand. She's our program director and therapist. Robin joined Blue Sky Bridge in 2014, and she oversees all of our programs. And she was instrumental in helping to grow our education program from 13 schools serving 848 students in 2014 to 39 schools this past academic year serving 3,797 students. This number probably actually would have been higher had schools not shut down in March. Robin also helped to build our therapy program from the ground up. So at this point, I will pass the mic to Gina, who will kick us off in explaining some of the more broader changes that have occurred at Blue Sky Bridge.
Thank you so much, Faith. And thank you all for being here. You know, it's been such a crazy time for all of us, right? But it's been so hard to not be able to have the same connection we have with people on a normal basis, where we would see people out in the community, or we'd have our events, big and small, and we'd have a chance to really talk to people. But we set this up so we could just have some more connections with you all. So I'm really, really grateful for you all for being here. And hopefully, you know, if any of you are interested, I'd be happy to have some one-on-one conversations too. So it's all game. We'd do it like this, of course, but we could also meet for coffee, sit far apart. So thank you for joining us. Everything about everything that we do has changed since March 13th. That was our day when everything shut down. And this certainly goes way beyond just working from home and washing our hands. Of course, we've been doing that too. But we have been incredibly busy, spending literally thousands of hours changing everything that we do to be able to address how the world works now. In the middle of all this, we've actually been expanding as an organization so that we can adapt to all of our programs. But even our administration and our fundraising and everything has changed. Robin's gonna go into a lot more detail, as Faith said. You know, a lot of what I think has been really interesting about these changes is that so much of it is going to carry forward with us. And I think we can all think about that in our own personal lives too. The way we live now is changing, and some of that is good, and it's going to carry us into the future in a different way. You know, we don't really know what this pandemic's going to look like, but in the coming months and years, you know, we can incorporate a lot of what we've learned. This has been exhausting. This has been fulfilling. At the end of the day, Blue Sky Bridge remains a hopeful place for our community, where children and families can move on at a time when they've experienced something tragic in their lives. And we really are grateful to have access to technology and other tools that have helped us to continue to be available to families and children, and our partners that work doing such important work all throughout the community. We can go into it more after. I really want to give Robin the bulk of the time here to really talk about our specific programs, and then we'll circle back on some other things when she's done. So go ahead, Robin.
Okay, thanks Gina, and thank you all for coming to talk about Blue Sky Bridge and all of the important work that's happening. So I'm going to just start, I'm going to kind of go program by program and just give you a little glimpse about what's happening and how we've adapted our work to serve our community the best way we possibly can. So we know that most of the time kids come to Blue Sky Bridge for a forensic interview when they have been the victim of or witness to a crime. And that is still happening, only the way that it's happening is a little bit different. Before, we would invite caregivers and families to come and support the child, but we're taking all of the safety considerations into place to help protect the families, the kids and the caregivers that come here, as well as our staff. So right now we're asking for one caregiver to bring each child, and we are doing some health screening questions before they arrive so we can try to do everything we can to make sure that people that entering our building are healthy. And now, instead of the forensic interview happening in one room with one child and a forensic interviewer talking in the same room about what has happened to the child is going into one room and the forensic interviewer is going into a different room, and they are talking about what happened to the child via Zoom like this. This is called a teleforensic interview, and this enables the forensic interviewer to talk to the child without having a mask on, so that they can see facial expressions and have their conversation the same way that they would if they were in the same room. If it's a small child or a child that's having problems connecting with the forensic interviewer over Zoom like this, the interviewer will go into the room with masks on. But again, safety precautions for everybody. We're trying to keep people separated as much as we possibly can. Our family support advocates are still providing support and resources to not only the caregiver that brings the child into the building of Blue Sky Bridge, but whatever caregivers are also involved in that child's life, because they can also connect through Zoom. So even though one caregiver can come to the building with the child, if there's other caregivers involved in their lives, they're sent the link and able to join that family support session with our family support advocates while the forensic interview is taking place. And just speaking of family support advocates, we actually, during this COVID time, have hired and onboarded a new family support advocate to be working in this new and unusual way that we are doing cases. So she's doing a great job. She didn't know what cases looked like before, so she doesn't have the context, but she's jumped in and she's been a great help to our team. So it's nice that currently we have two forensic interviewers and two family support advocates. Because of this technology heavy setup that we have now, it's just taking more work to get all of the technology set up prior to the forensic interviews. Sending partners the links. So I should also mention, currently partners are also viewing forensic interviews remotely, unless it's an emergency situation and we need somebody in the building, but we haven't had that happen very many times. We all know when we're working with technology, there's going to be glitches. We're trying as hard as we can to keep all of our computers up to date, making sure everything works, but every day we're having new challenges in every department, I think, when it comes to technology. Then that's just part of the course. So we know that all of our teams are trying out new things. They're all using technology in new ways, which, just like Gina said, can last way beyond the pandemic. So teleforensic interviews might be a way that we can reach kids who can't come to Blue Sky Bridge, or have transportation barriers, or who have other barriers that might prevent them from coming to the building after we're out of this COVID world that we're living in, right? This might be something that we can continue to do, interview remotely in different ways. Our therapy program has switched. They pretty much switched overnight from just seeing kids in offices to providing telemental health with a great attitude. We've had a lot of support from the National Children's Alliance, giving us support and guidance and resources on best practices of providing telemental health to kids via Zoom. We have 2 Kindle Fire tablets that we were able to loan out to kids who don't have access to technology. And that's definitely something that we're considering moving forward. Again, if transportation is a barrier, time is a barrier, this has been a way to give our therapists ways to stay connected with their clients and also to keep them on their healing journey. Some kids, it's been really easy for them to stay connected with their therapist this way because the distance of the screen makes it almost safer for them to talk about things that might be hard. And then other kids, we just have more challenges keeping them engaged. We all know how these Zoom things can just kind of drag on and on and on. And when you're a young kid with a lot of energy, It's just, I'm not going to demonstrate it for you, but it's like, just imagine like your computer, like swerving around the room. Like, look, there's my dog. Look, there's this. Oh, there's this. And it's like, okay, keep the computer in one place because I'm getting a little motion sick. But yeah, so right now we have 12 active therapy clients. We're still also providing those booster sessions for kids who have graduated from our therapy program. If they or their parents need support or help, which we have actually had some previous clients reach out because COVID has just added an additional layer of trauma to their lives. So it's just about providing support, reviewing coping skills, and helping them stay in a safe place. So moving on to our education team. This team has embraced the change and have been working on virtual options for both kindergarten and third grade. Also virtual trainings for adults in both Spanish and English. So we have established a more formal partnership with Boulder Valley School District, which has all kind of come about like during this time. And Boulder Valley School District, starting this school year, is making child sexual abuse prevention mandatory at all schools in the district for 3rd, 7th, and 9th grade, and someday 5th.
And yeah.
So right now we're really focusing on 3rd grade in Boulder Valley School District and also kindergarten in the schools that we have been in. Like I said, the team, the minute this started and the minute schools got shut down, they started working on creating virtual lessons that kids can do at home to still receive these important body safety messages that we know how important these things are for kids to hear. We are also working on, so we've developed these virtual lessons, but we're also working on, especially now, like at this moment, just coming out of the BBSD school board meeting, knowing that what they've changed school to look like. They were ready for a plan if we could go into schools, if we could only go into some of the schools, if kids were learning at home, trying to be ready to be able to present this program in all these different ways. I think we're still going to have a little bit of figuring out to do, but at least now we kind of know what school is going to look like, and that gives us a better idea of where we're starting at. We've also been working with Boulder Valley School District on creating a training for school personnel to help them respond to disclosures and to help school staff feel more supported in supporting kids when kids disclose abuse to them. Gina, am I forgetting anything? I'm trying to keep this pretty quick.
No, there's so much to talk about there, but really the work that they've done, these animated video presentations are really spectacular. And again, another perfect example of how we might take this going forward, a snow day or something, and now we can potentially, shoot some information out to kids and families. And yeah, there's a lot we're going to be able to do with this great new content that we never would have had the capacity to build before. So
that's great. And I think also just our formal partnership with Boulder Valley School District is going to help us leverage hopefully a stronger partnership with St. Vrain Valley School District. So our ultimate goal of being in every school in Boulder County is one step closer.
Yep. Robin, I have a question. So how would you say overall, because everything that you said is such a heavy shift from the in-person work that we've done for so long, working individually with children and families. How would you say overall that the kids are handling it? I mean, and it might be different from each program, but overall, what has that response been like from the children that we serve?
That's a good question. So I'll kind of go through program by program from what I've seen. Kids are so resilient and they are so adaptable. and they are also so used to dealing with screens that surprisingly it hasn't been as big of an issue for kids as it has been like for us and for
what do you mean? This is great.
I mean, kids, like when they come to Blue Sky Bridge for a forensic interview, pretty much they go wash their hands, and then we still have our case support advocates. So we still have our internship program, although since we have less capacity, we're seeing less cases, but they still have a chance where they go outside and sit safely with masks on outside with our interns and color or play a game before they go into their forensic interview. They might also do that after a forensic interview. And just like always, parents are like, how was that? They might be worried, and kids are like, oh, that was fun. You know, they're just like, okay, it's fine. Our therapy kids, you know, again, like I said, it's easier for some kids to have the connection over Zoom than in person, but they're still doing the hard work that they need to do to get through it because they want to feel better. And for education, I don't know, because we had such a drastic cutoff. This is going to be really interesting for us to kind of learn and see how kids can learn, right? What we're really hoping for is to do some kind of hybrid learning where we can deliver some of the program via the videos that Gina was talking about, and that we might have the chance to, I don't know, do some kind of, well, when kids were going to go into the classrooms, we had this vision that maybe we could like do a live presentation, but it would be delivered to the classroom. Now that they're not in classrooms and they're at home, I don't know, it might just be via the videos, but we'll still have our pre and post data survey to see if they're still learning, right? So I think we're going to be learning a lot of really important lessons over the course of this school year.
I mean, that's enormously impressive, and kudos to the team for making all of this happen, and that this is also going to be mandatory. And so one of the questions that popped up in the chat box is, are there other school districts in the US that have made this standard a part of their operating protocols? And my hunch is no. I don't know if it's necessarily a common thing, but I think what we're doing is unique in that sense. But you might know more, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know specifics, but I know like in different states, there's versions of what they call Aaron's Law, which this is kind of an offshoot of this. So I don't know the specifics of which states or which school districts do have it mandatory. And I think even the ones where it is mandatory, what it looks like, again, there's a wide spectrum of what that could be, what that could look like, what that program and teaching could be.
Okay. Wow, that's great. Thank you, Robin. And just so grateful for everything that you're doing and the team is doing. And I would say I'm part of the team, but from an outsider's perspective, not working directly with the programs, I would say that overall, the one thing that just impressed me the most is just how quick and responsive everyone has been, and how no idea is off the table. That kind of creative thinking is really what's going to help us get through this season and is going to help us remain open and available to our community. So Gina.
Just can I say one more thing?
Oh yes, of course.
That we want to keep, our staff safe and healthy.
Yes.
We're one of the only centers in the state of Colorado that's providing teleforensic interviews this way. And I think also just the way that all the teams were able to dive in just shows the passion of the teams for this work and how important kids are and how much they care about kids and the safety of kids in Boulder County.
Yes, agreed. So Gina, I pass you the big question, which is, why is all of this so important? Why invest so much time in this? Why go through the process of having 4 different computers to do one interview?
Yeah. Yeah, this, when this all started, we immediately realized how extremely concerned we are about children right now. The week of March 16th, which was, I believe, the first day that schools were fully closed and everyone started staying home, there was a 45% drop in reports to Colorado's child abuse hotline. And it has stayed that low this whole time. So that sounds like, great, there's less abuse. We know that's not true. That means abuse is not getting reported. Ordinarily, in normal times, different data from different sources, but between 40 and even 75% of calls to Child Protective Services or the hotline or these different types of ways you can report, a huge percentage of those reports came from mandatory reporters. But in an instant, mandatory reporters like teachers and coaches and pediatricians, lots of others, as well as like neighbors and friends, no longer had access to children. And there are so many children who are in unsafe situations right now with no access to trusted adults that we teach kids about to help them get out. And we know from previous regional and local emergency situations when kids are stuck at home from weather situations, we know that abuse goes up. Our school program, stopped abruptly. So all the teaching we were doing with kids stopped. And then you add the stress of living during COVID and everything that sort of does to families. We've seen a significant uptick in cases of witnesses to domestic violence, physical abuse, other things that are coming out of the stress. So we are staying, like I said, really, really busy. And it just looks really, really different. The good news is that we've been working for years to build our financial health, and we're in pretty good shape right now. But looking ahead and forecasting, not just for this year, but for the next few years, it's just really not looking great. We know the economy's in trouble. That impacts the ability of people as well as foundations to support our work. The government entities that we rely on for about a third of our funding, so about $500,000 a year, our budget's right around 1.5 million. They're okay right now, or our funding is intact for this year because it's contracted. But we fully expect that to change starting in January when new budgets come into play and they reflect the changes in things like sales tax and some of the government programs that are going in place to address the pandemic. So we're trying to plan for that. It's really not clear when anything's going to look regular again, right? And it's not clear when we're going to be able to have like in-person events again to build community. Our events at Blue Sky Bridge are so important. Not only are they a chance for us to raise money and build community that sort of helps us have a sustainable source of income throughout the year, but they give us another opportunity to educate our community about the role of adults in keeping kids safe. So this is going to be a long road to full recovery. I am a hopeful person and I do have hope, but it's going to take a lot of work to get us where we need to go. So sorry, that was kind of jumping around a little, but to kind of pull those things together at a time of extreme uncertainty, I said at the beginning that we, our staff is expanding. We have 2 new staff members starting next week, for instance. But to talk about, like Robin was showing what happens to change our forensic interview process and our family advocacy process, all of that is so much more complicated. And we're operating at our normal level of cases, and that's before an expected surge comes. So we know there's all these kids at home that are potentially unsafe. Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I just said right.
Yeah. So no. So we're expecting a surge of cases to come up that'll increase our caseload here, and everything's more complicated. And trials have pretty much been put on hold for the last 6 months. So our interviewers who testify regularly as experts on forensic interviewing, and they testify as to the facts of their interviews, all of that, those cases are backed up for 6 months. And as our caseload increases, anyway, you can see where this is going.
Yes.
All of this is picking up. So basically, we have open positions to hire additional staff in our forensic interviewing and family advocacy team. We have 2 new education staff members coming in because this wonderful new relationship with BBSD, even in a virtual situation, is going to require a lot more people, because we will nearly double the number of kids we're going to be seeing, that we're going to be not seeing, whatever we're going to be doing, training, educating, as well as the staff members and the teachers and all the adults that are around these kids. So we're growing, and at a time when our everything's kind of uncertain. It's, again, we're so happy to be able to do everything we're doing, and we really believe in our ability to kind of keep it going as it is. But that's kind of the reality of what's happening at Blue Sky Bridge.
Thank you, Gina. Do we have a do we have a backlog of cases right now? No,
not really, but we're scheduling out a little further than we would like to be.
Okay.
Again, to keep our staff healthy. Go ahead, Robin.
And just kind of keeping some slots, and so we have room for emergencies, because we don't have the ability to stack them like back to back as we used to. So yeah.
Right, because of all of the safety measures,
Yeah.
you can only have one family in the building at a time.
Yeah.
Got you. And then the team is cleaning after every one of those sessions thoroughly, and so got it. Okay. Wow, thank you both so much. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, some that came in prior that it's 4 o'clock, so we're good on time. Again, if people have additional questions based off of anything that Gina or Robin or even myself has said, please feel free to put it in there. But one question was, how will students reach out to BSB for disclosures or questions during or after they view a video?
That's a good question, and that's one we've been talking a lot about. So we don't have a solid answer to that question. We've been playing around with ideas of doing a breakout room with just like one kid at a time, and just like asking a kid like, tell me one thing you learned, or just like kind of saying like, we're going to check in with every kid. Again, capacity wise, I don't know if we'll have that availability, and if kids are at home, that feels a little bit different than if they were in schools. So we also think a lot of this is about educating adults and talking to adults, because we know it's an adult's responsibility to keep kids safe, right? So having parents check in with their kids, and having teachers check in with their kids, and just again trying to put the message out there for kids to look for trusted adults, whether it can be Blue Sky Bridge or it can be somebody else.
Yeah, and
we're still. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, in sort of normal times, kids do have an opportunity to go out in the hall and ask a question of a volunteer or a staff member of Blue Sky Bridge. But still, the bulk of, we don't really know the breakdown, right? But we know that a lot of kids leave our school program and they do go tell a parent, or they go and tell a teacher, or they tell their school counselor. So we've been playing these ideas out with BBSD, actually coordinating with the staff at the district to figure out what might be some ways that we could have other adults sort of be connecting with kids in a way that might feel a little bit safer to these kids, and give them a chance to at least talk about, how's life, how's it going?
Yeah, and just also giving the adults the message, like it's our job to look out for kids around us, right? So like kids in your neighborhood or kids that you see, and just kind of watching to help watch out for kids' safety.
And we do have trainings online that anybody can participate in. So Faith, do you want to?
Yeah, no, that was the comment I was going to make, is that the trainings, all like the nurturing, healthy sexual development, stewards, trafficking 101, all of the partner trainings that we're doing, they have continued, correct? And they're all virtual now. And I believe the last time I was speaking to Trish about all of these trainings, that the numbers have increased, because it's, as before, if the training time didn't work out because of transportation issues or childcare, all of that's eliminated now. You can just log on and attend this training and get, educated. So that is a very hopeful thing that has come up this season.
Yeah.
Is that our training numbers really have gone up. So how can individuals help right now in terms of volunteer roles or in any other ways or capacity?
Do you want me
I would say as the development person, financially.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that financial support is critical for us right now. We're so grateful for all of you that, you know, you have continued to be such great supporters and being so connected to us that you're here today. So thank you. Spreading the word, helping share things on social media. Financial support's great. But we really, like I said, we are extremely concerned about children right now. So anything you can do to help spread this word about the issue of child abuse and about Blue Sky Bridge and what we're doing, it will help us on both sides. It'll help us to keep kids safe, and it will help us to raise the money we need in order to keep going at this rate, this expanding, growing rate. So I think there's a lot we can all do. I know I could do better at, you know, moving the social media stuff along too, but anything you all can do really, really, truly helps. Thank you. Now, you know, we just kind of got the news today that school's not going back in person. And of course, there's lots of mixed feelings about that. But I think it does make all of this so much more profound that, yes, it does feel like the right thing to do to not have kids and teachers and all those people go back to those buildings right now. But hopefully that can change. Hopefully we can control this virus and we can get kids back into schools in a safe way, because we know that kids need to move out of their environments, or some kids do. So I guess the point of what happened in both districts today just makes all of this that much more profound. So please just do everything you can to help these kiddos, whether it's, like I said, financially supporting us or just helping to spread the word. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's worth repeating.
It is worth repeating. Great. Well, thank you everyone for participating. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. We'll follow up. And as always, please reach out anytime you have any questions or concerns about anything regarding our program and how things have changed. So grateful.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.